For chapter 6 of The Great Gatsby, we kind of learn the real backstory on Gatsby. So all the stuff we've heard so far hasn't been true. Here's what we know for sure. Gatsby grew up a poor farm kid. He was born James Gatz in North Dakota, and he came from nothing. So he is the real rags to riches story because he was a poor farm kid, and now he is who he is. So we kind of see that American dream being lived out through Gatsby. So 17 years old is when he changes his name. Then he goes clamming and fishing for a year. Then he starts college, then he drops out, and then he meets Dan Cody. So Dan Cody turns out to be fairly important because he basically makes Gatsby realize that he wants to live a life of luxury. So he works for him on his boat for 5 years, and when Cody dies, he leaves Gatsby $25,000, which is a lot of money to kind of get him started, but a technicality and kind of a legal loophole pops up, and so he doesn't get the money. But he decides, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna still get rich. So he is self-made, and he is successful from nothing. We have some time pass, so there is some time passage here. And then there's another one of Gatsby's parties. And so Tom's there and Daisy's there, which is kind of weird. And really, nobody's having a good time. Tom is miserable because Tom's miserable. Daisy's just kind of unhappy, probably because she feels uncomfortable in this situation, if she were to really think about it. And Gatsby's pretty paranoid about Daisy not having a good time. And so it's just not like a super great atmosphere. The feel is not great. Tom does tell Nick that he suspects that Gatsby is a bootlegger, and Nick says he's not, which is interesting because Nick has no proof of that. However, Nick is clearly showing that he's a good friend to Gatsby and that they are good buddies, and so his denying it, I think, shows that. Daisy says, no, he has drugstores. He built them up from nothing, and we're like, drugstores, that's new. So we've kind of heard another thing, but we don't really still know what he does. A really important line gets spoke at the end of this chapter. So for Nick, he's talking to Gatsby, and Gatsby says, you know, that he wants things to basically be the way they used to be. And Nick says, well, you can't repeat the past. And Gatsby says with such assuredness, of course you can. Like, absolutely you can repeat the past, which shows you, like, Gatsby does not realize what's happened here. Like, you cannot pretend that these two aren't married. You can't pretend this time didn't pass. You can't just go back to the way it was. A lot's happened. Remember, she's married. She has a daughter. So I think Gatsby just doesn't quite realize that you can't go back. That's kind of a journey that's already been taken. And I think Nick is trying to help him kind of realize that. But I think Gatsby is so idealistic and aspirational about this relationship that he's kind of unwilling or unable to see the truth. And that's chapter 6.